We're starting with a look at today's top stories with Vanessa Feltz and Gyles Brandreth. Hello, good morning.
Good morning to you both.
A lot going on.
Well, a lot going on. I'm thinking about your childhood. My childhood was Ina Sharples and Minnie Caldwell.
Right.
It's rather... So I'm just
Mine was Valerie Singleton and John Noakes.
Well, there you are.
On Blue Peter,
yeah.
We've all got some history in there, but
We
Miss
do.
Popoff does it.
Always,
Always,
always, Miss Popoff.
We're going to start with the ongoing controversy surrounding the Tory party donor Frank Hester and the comments that he made, it turns out, a couple of years ago. They were sort of exposed in The Guardian on Monday. He is a serious donor to the Tory party. Over £10 million, I think, is what he's committed to them. We're just going to read out these comments. This is a direct quote. They are very, very uncomfortable to hear, even for me to read them, and I've been reading them and following the story for the last couple of days. And Andy is still in the kitchen. I think, Andy, if we can get your take on this, because I think your perspective is incredibly relevant right now as somebody of colour who works in the media as well. This is what he said in 2019, Frank Hester. "It's like trying not to be racist, but when you see Diane Abbott on the TV and you're just like, you just want to hate all black women because she's there, and I don't hate all black women at all, but I think she should be shot." I mean, just to say them out loud is very difficult and despicable. I wonder, Andy, how you felt when you heard those comments?
It's nauseating, to be honest. It makes me shake because it makes me so angry. It makes me furious. There's no universe in which it's acceptable to talk about another human being in that way. We're supposed to be able to have respectful political discourse with each other. You can't call down someone's race or their gender or call for violence against them because you disagree with their politics. It's just beneath everybody. It's beneath all of us, and it's totally unacceptable.
Even if you disagree with Diane Abbott's politics and what she stands for and who she is, regardless, there is no way that should be the criticism that you level at her.
If you disagree with her politics, then talk about her politics. If you disagree with her or anything she's got to say, then talk about that. What's that got to do with her gender or her race? It's not acceptable to talk about anybody.
So he's apologised. It took the Tory party a good few days to come out and admit or agree that the comments were racist. This £10 million, though, from your perspective, Andy, what should the Tory party do with that?
I think they should use that money to help vulnerable people, vulnerable women, and particularly the women of colour.
OK.
Well,
Thank you.
We're with Andy all the way, aren't we? There's nothing more to be said.
Well, absolutely, except to say one thing, because Frank Hester said that what he said, that this remark was not racist and was nothing to do with the colour of Diane Abbott's skin, even though that's exactly what he discussed. And he tried to kind of style it off and get out of it. But as far as I can see, this is the absolute definition of what racism is. You see somebody of any race, any religion, any creed behaving in a certain way, and you conclude that everybody of that race or that colour or that creed must have exactly the same characteristics as this person, as you believe this person is showing. That is what racism is. That is when you don't take people as individuals, you don't respond to each person that you meet as themselves, but instead you make these huge conclusions that everybody from a certain race, religion or colour creed is a certain thing, and
Gyles,
that's what racism is.
One of the frustrations, let's take the remarks aside, I think, because, of course, he is an incredibly important part of the Tory party with regards to the money and the sway that he has. But it took the Tory party a couple of days to come out and say these were racist. Kemi Badenoch, Business Secretary, had to come out and actually say it and break from what was happening.
Yes. What's so frustrating is Kemi is part of the most diverse government we've ever had in this country. And Rishi Sunak is our first British Asian Prime Minister. And the Conservatives have made great play over the years of actually being in the forefront of being inclusive as a political party. So it's very frustrating. And the frustration was that yesterday morning, when the story began, ministers were sent out to say that these were unacceptable remarks, but didn't use the word racist.
They were wrong. And we had this last week with Lee Anderson.
Then you had to wait until the end of the day before getting that. So it's an open and shut case. I mean, it's clear. The words are there. It's unacceptable. It shouldn't be accepted. And I think Andy's solution with the money is spot on.
But haven't they spent it already? How are they going to...
They've got a big election coming up, isn't that?
How are they going to find...
Well, they may have to find other donors, actually. I mean, who really do believe. I mean, because this has to be called out. It has to be stopped.
100%.
The discourse in our public life of this kind is totally unacceptable. I mean, there have been, sadly, on all sides, there have been remarks made by the politicians that people may interpret as being racist.
You know, it's not just unacceptable, it's dangerous.
Yes.
And in this day and age, in these particularly, difficult times, it can result in actual actual violence. 2 MPs have lost their lives. You know, Diane Abbott's quite right when she says, what she said in response to this was, I'm a single woman, I don't drive, I go lots of places on public transport, she said. And a call to say that I should be shot, you know, makes me feel terrified. Who wouldn't?
Yeah.
Who wouldn't? So it's not just
Absolutely.
unacceptable. Unacceptable makes it sound like you shouldn't really say it in public. You know, it's
Not
really,
nice
it's not very
manners.
nice.
No.
But it's much more
Terrible.
dangerous and pernicious than just unacceptable. It's absolutely unconscionable to behave in this way.
Yeah.
Terrifying.
It is terrifying.
Yeah.
Where are you, Andy, with your sort of take on politics at the moment? Because it is a very virile place at the moment. It feels...
I just think we've lost the ability to have clear, intelligent discourse. It's like being in a school playground with people, but like with particularly vicious children, you know, just literally throwing barbs at each other, calling down violence on each other, absolutely lying, barefaced lying. Just the whole political arena, to me, at the moment, is shocking and really quite alarming, I have to say.
Yeah.
Not just here, either.
Well, look, thank you for lending us your opinion, because I think it's incredibly important at the moment. I find it, Vanessa, on the back of last week, when they were discussing the fact that MPs are going to get personal protection as well now because they're so worried about their safety, that one of the key donors of the party, who clearly has so much sway with the Prime Minister and with all of the Cabinet, has been saying things like that.
Absolutely. The whole thing is absolutely horrifying.
Yes.
It really is.
Absolutely.
And therefore, you know, it's very important that the Tories talk about this money and what they've done with it, what they're going to do with it, and how they're going to make this right. Not that anyone can, but they've got to try.
Yes.
And they've got to be seen to try, and they've got to mean it. 100%. It's got to be sincere. It mustn't just be a cosmetic window dressing thing. They've got to say, right, that 10 million, this is how much we've spent, this is what we're going to do.
Excellent. Talking of horrifying, 35 bodies have been found at a funeral parlour and unidentified ashes. I actually asked the question this morning, are there any regulations or restrictions? How does it work?
There's proper legislation. And on the whole, the funeral industry in this country is very well run. It's properly monitored. And having family who actually have been funeral directors, it's usually a family business. People care, they're respectful, they realise how important it is not just to treat the deceased with respect, but actually the key time in people's families when they're grieving. This is a really unusual and horrifying case. Basically, up in Hull, it appears that 2 people have been arrested now, a 46-year-old man and a 23-year-old woman, on suspicion of what is called the prevention of a lawful and decent burial. Also fraud by false representation and fraud by abuse of position. So they've been released on bail. Hopefully, this is simply a one-off horror case. But for the families involved, it's truly alarming. And there have been apparently 1,000 families getting in touch saying, you know, are our loved ones involved in this?
I mean, one lady said that she was, you know, waving goodbye and kissing her father's coffin goodbye. And I remember my grandpa doing that to my grandma's coffin. I remember him saying, on my Sybil, and then giving a kiss to them. Oh, God, it was heartbreaking. And she said now she thinks that the coffin may have been empty. She's got ashes from her brother. She thinks they could be from absolutely anyone. And she had to take a call where she had to identify the distinguishing marks of her deceased brother in case his body's still somewhere in a refrigerator. I mean, it's unthinkable, isn't it?
But don't think this is universal. I have some experience of this and have been to actually have hosted the Funeral Directors Awards and have met a lot of these guys from across the UK. They really are good people.
They take great pride in what they do.
And they take pride in what they do, and they do it well and seriously and properly. So let us just hope this truly is a one-off and the police will get to the root of it.
OK, here's one for the parents around the table. According to a new survey, Vanessa, 2/5 of millennials are worried about their parents frittering away the inheritance. I know my parents are doing it as we speak, and I couldn't be happier.
I completely agree. Make hay while the sun shines.
Absolutely. I think both my girls would give me their blessing to you know, waste any money I felt like doing on expensive and good-looking gentlemen, on wine, on song, on, you know, fabulous sports. The thing is, I don't, though. I'm quite frugal. I'm not really, that isn't really my thing. But, you know, I think most kids, adult kids, will give their parents their blessing to spend the money that they themselves have earned in whatever way they like. And most parents won't, because most parents like me will be sort of squirreling to whatever you've got away, thinking, you know, the grandchildren.
I'm with you, because I know you want to lead this crazy life and spend all this money. I appreciate that. But there is a serious issue here, and that is to do with the cost of housing nowadays.
That's true.
And for children, my children and my grandchildren, the issue of actually getting on the housing ladder, getting your first flat, etc., is quite a concern. So that I think there will be parents and grandparents who maybe want to contribute to their children and grandchildren this way. But the instinct is, absolutely, let us party while we can. Our problem is we haven't really got anything to spend any money on.
We need to go somewhere. We need to have a party.
We need to have a party.
Yeah,
I mean, we go on the underground together.
Yeah,
and I've got a pass.
I've got a pass. It's one of my best thing I've got. The pass, the underground pass.
We travel around and we then eat these frugal sandwiches together. And occasionally...
we brought with us in Tupperware.
And sometimes in the corridor here we hold hands as a kind of little...
Giles even makes his own jumpers. I mean, this is always your wife that makes your own jumpers.
No. Oh, you can't say that sort of thing. I'm cancelling you. But you assume my wife should make my jumpers. They are designed by me.
And made by you?
And made by good men.
There you go. That's what it is. It was George Best, I think, he said he spent most of his money on wine, women and song, and the rest of it he wasted.
Yeah.
That's exactly what you should be doing, Vanessa. Go and enjoy yourself.
I'm going to reform. I'm going to be an unreformed character.
Have you seen, speaking of leaving money, did you see the wonderful will?
Yes, from Paul O'Grady.
Paul O'Grady.
Oh, yes.
Gosh. I mean, £15 million, but so much of it given to his dogs, 25k for each of the dogs, 500,000 to the Battersea Dogs Home.
His friends, 13 of his good friends.
Yeah,
Nice.
and orangutans in Borneo.
Amazing.
What a good man. So you can
Lovely
do
to be
good
able
things
to
with
leave
your
it to
money.
the things and the people that are important.
And people too, Salvation Army.
Yes, that was another one, wasn't it?
Absolutely.